Welcome back to Theoretical Nonsense. Today we're going to be discussing the good guy fluctuation, and we're going to be breaking down the science behind the Halloween pranks, who are the next men, sulfites in wine, and Friedrich Nietzsche. Stay tuned. Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required.
We're the podcast that recaps all the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot
Make yourself a grasshopper
and enjoy the ride. Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob. How's it going?
I'm doing amazing because we just watched The Good Guy Fluctuation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it finally happened. Priya no mas.
I wonder if she comes back at all, but it's over. And we knew it was coming. We're just like, how is it going to happen? I'm frustrated because I feel like there was a pretty solid option here, and Leonard didn't. I don't want to ruin it. We'll talk about it, but I'm a little frustrated because things could have gone so differently. But he wanted his cake and he wanted to eat it too.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on my feelings of this. I'm not trying to justify Leonard in any way. What he did was terrible. I mean, it doesn't really matter because in his mind, he didn't know that Priya cheated on him. So that's an arbitrary thing. I mean, you find out later, so it kind of justifies it and it kind of nullifies it, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't because he didn't know. He didn't know that she cheated on him. So in this perspective, he's just a cheater.
If he, I feel like he never had the talk with Priya about where are they going? Are they actually going to get married? It was obvious the relationship was going stagnant. And instead of dealing with that, he let it linger and fester, and that's bad for a relationship. It seems like he was just in it because he didn't want to be alone, and this option came up. At which point, I think instead of like jumping in on the option and cheating, he should have had a conversation saying, "Hey, I'm not going to let this this option pass me up. I want to know, are we a real thing? Are we going anywhere? Because if the relationship's going to fizzle out later, why hassle with it? Why go through more heartache and pain and lingering? Because it seems like they've had a lot of issues. So
I think you brought up a really good point because like now that we've actually looked at their whole relationship, all like what 12 or some episodes that
yeah,
she was in, they never really had the talk. So for
mm-hmm.
us, even as an audience, we knew that they're in a somewhat of a serious relationship, but it wasn't that serious, even though they kept calling it serious. We never really saw it.
And you don't have to get married and you don't have to have children to have a serious relationship. But at the point of you're not going to be like, assuming you want to be with somebody, if there's no future in sight of like moving in together and being together, no additional to no getting married and no children, then why even be in a relationship? Just see people, right? Why limit yourself? It seems like at that point you just like to say that you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, and that there's like, why even do it? Because it's not a full relationship. It's somebody you talk to. You can have a chat bot do that for you. You could have had, I mean, I guess AI didn't exist for them back then, but what, Chat GQ, or was it? I remember AIM used to have chatbots that you could talk to, and they're really dumb, but that you could still talk to them. And say, "Are you my girlfriend?" Yes, why not?
Oh my god, like you just opened up like this flood of memories.
The repressed memories are flooding back.
My first girlfriend. No, I'm just kidding.
My first girlfriend, she cheated on me too. She was a bot. She was telling everybody she loved them.
And she cheated on me. I got catfished.
So yeah, they never had the talk, no idea where the relationship was going, and it's totally fair if that's what works for them. But at the same time, it seems like he was really interested in having something more substantial than just somebody online he talks to every now and then. And if that's the case, he should have had that talk.
They really should have. They were actually very poor communicators.
Mm-hmm. Which,
So
it's character flaw, and ends up with a bad relationship. But I'm frustrated because I'm like, Alice she was really cool. I would have adored her. So I'm like, Leonard, that would have been so great. And you just bombed it. Probably intentionally too, I'd say, because it seemed like he didn't want to have the talk. Because he knew where the talk would lead them, and instead of having the talk, he just didn't do it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I guess
I know
he
it
probably
is kind of weird now that we're fleshing all this out, that like there was that line where he was talking to Penny and he was saying like Priya and I are in love. We can get married one day, when they really didn't show that many signs of it.
yeah. Her parents hated him. I don't think that she was really thinking about marriage, and not
No.
to say parents dictate everything, but she seemed to care what they thought a lot. So
And
it probably would have.
I might be overstepping or being a little too I don't know what the word is, but like if he really loved her, he could have tried to make it work when she
Yeah,
moved. Like if
and
he really loved her, he could have moved to India. Because if her
mhm.
career, because there must be other universities there that are accepting um theoretical physicists. Well, no, sorry. He's not a theoretical physicist. He's a shoot,
Oh, what is he?
experimental physicist.
There we go.
There
But
must be some university in India that would accept him. Whereas, like, if this is where she has to be for her career, like, if that's her law firm wants her there and it's like a great law firm, I mean, he doesn't seem like he's fully dedicated to Caltech.
yeah, I was gonna say it goes both ways. She didn't have to move. She could have found another job too. I'm sure there was another law firm. It just seems that the step for her career was probably more epic than where he's doing with his career. So, like you said, he could have found something equivalent and moved with her. But I also feel like she probably didn't want him to move with her. Like I think she was swimming out of the relationship, moving the other direction, and slowly getting there without getting there.
Yep.
But I'm just sad because Alice seemed that was her name, Alice, right?
Yeah, Alice. Yeah.
That she seems so cool, and but then again, I feel like he wasn't that interested in her. He was interested in hooking up, and he could have made it work if he was interested. He should have been, because she was awesome. So
I think he was interested. I think it was one of those things, like it was a combination of things. Like how many beautiful women really just throw themselves at you. So there was
mhm.
that. And then there was this other side of his interests that somebody is also interested in, because Priya never really, I mean, besides like the whole cosplay in the bedroom, she never
Yeah,
really showed that much interest in his interests, like his movies and his comics and all his like little toys and gizmos and everything like that. Whereas
she's like,
Alice like
that's
is
cute.
in
You're a
that
man
world.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are two
so there are two different sides of it. There are two different sides of the coin.
with Alice, and we don't know intellectually if she could stand up or talk to him about jobs and stuff. In fact, I don't even think we know what she did. She had a comic book, but there are two things she said that was in the comic book she gives him. She's having sex with a guy in the upper half in a Chewbacca costume. Like, that's awesome. It might not be my kink, but she's willing to go for it, and I respect that. But the second thing, when she goes, they're kissing and he stops her and she says, is it my tongue stud? Because you're in for a surprise later. And I'm like, that melted my heart. Like, wow, you go, girl.
Oh,
And,
jeez.
so
They could have had a
yeah,
lot of fun.
they could have had so much fun. But again, I guess we didn't see her whole personality, and I think it's funny because I'll bring up she was in another show, and she was a completely different character, and so we don't know the other side of her. There, she might have been mean, a little bit racist or something.
Who
But
knows? Yeah.
did you see what else she was in?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually saw her a lot in like the
Yeah,
2010s and everything, like True Blood, How I Met Your Mother.
that's when I ended up watching a montage of the episode she was in. Uh,
Of
she
How I Met Your Mother.
yeah, she
Oh
was in
yeah,
Naked Man. She naked.
yep. She was a
She gets naked.
horrible human being.
She's
Horrible.
horrible. So maybe we only see one side of her, the comic book
Yeah.
side and the kinky side, but maybe there's a horrible side that we're not seeing that. Uh
But this is also the Halloween episode.
it's Halloween and I love holiday episodes. Not a whole Halloween, a lot of Halloween thrown in, but just enough to make it special in my heart.
Yep. And before we move on, this actually rewinding back a couple episodes, this was the episode where we had a spoiler email. So this was the first earmuffs episode. So we could finally address that so you're not in the dark. So this was an email from John where he was talking about whatchamacallits and Winco and where to find them and stuff like that. But then
Yeah.
we had you go on earmuffs because he had something specifically for me. He would basically called me out on how do you like because I spoke very positive of Priya
Yeah.
when we first meet her, their relationship and everything. I was saying, "Oh, I like Priya. I think she and Leonard work really well together. I like her." And I kind of just had to go back on. I didn't have to go back on that, but I kind of had to explain myself to everyone, basically saying I was trying to look through the lens of spoiler free. Because he
Mm.
called me out on like, how could you say that you like Priya knowing what's going to happen? It's like, well, yes, I do know what happens, but Ryan doesn't. So I'm trying to approach these episodes through the non-spoiler lens.
Oh.
So in those moments when we first meet Priya, she was kind of cool. You know what? You know, she fought against Sheldon really well. She was an intellectual equal to Leonard. They got along really well. For all intents and purposes, I actually liked Priya up until this episode.
And by
Well,
all
yeah.
means, she is still a caring individual. People can make mistakes, and some people are. It kind of seems like she's probably in it for an open relationship. She's a really free spirit or whatever, and those people are wonderful too. She's finding herself. That doesn't make her a horrible person. It's just not so much for Leonard. I'm glad I didn't read that. Like after all this time, I was really afraid that I was going to mess up and find the spoiler. But I can promise everybody that I didn't. I missed the email. I didn't look at it, and the earmuffs work. So this was a surprise to me. I thought Leonard was going to be in trouble in this episode, and I figured the relationship would end. I didn't know how. I'm not surprised that she cheated, but at the same time, I didn't know it was coming this episode. So.
Well, they also did foreshadow it a little bit.
Mm.
Because remember there was an episode where they was it the Zarnecki one where Leonard was off doing stuff with his group and everything like that, and Raj was being a mean little man and was like, "Oh, Priya was skyping her ex-boyfriend Sanjay all night."
I was didn't yeah, I was gonna say, was I just hallucinating or dreaming that there was an episode where they mentioned her ex-boyfriend?
Yeah, so
And
maybe she actually was. For a while you think that Raj is just dicking with him, but
yeah.
maybe she actually was.
And yeah, huh. I think she was. I don't think Raj made that up.
I don't. Yeah,
Hmm.
looking back, I don't think he made it up. But
Interesting.
we'll get more into it as we get into the episode. But a little bit of housekeeping. Sorry to pivot. But a little bit of housekeeping. We have an email at theoreticalnonsencepod@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. We love the emails. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love them 5-star reviews. So give us a 5-star review and we'll give you a shout out. We're also on YouTube at Theoretical Nonsense, and you should like and subscribe. And we also want to talk about our 100 episode extravaganza. So, we mentioned in the previous episode, we are giving out code words each episode. We have one code word last episode, one this episode, and one more at the next episode. So, you are able to enter into a raffle 3 times by sending us an email all 3 of those code words. So, if you missed last episode, check it out, get that code word, email us, and we will enter you into a raffle for a $50 gift card to Amazon. So the deadline for all entries is February 18th. So make sure you listen to episodes 506, 507, and 508. So there will be 3 code words in each of the episodes in 506, 507, and 508. So you'll have 3 opportunities, 3 entries into our raffle. So go back and listen. And this episode, at some point, Ryan will be coming up with a code word that you need to email us. So stay tuned. Ryan's, I'm sure, is going to have a lot of fun with that one.
I have it planned out already. Yeah.
All right. But that's it. So enter into our raffle and celebrate 100 episodes with us.
Yeah. Okay, so I have my code word. We are ready. Anything else for the housekeeping before we get into the
For
episode?
housekeeping, let's
All
get
right.
her done.
Get her done. We are on season 5, episode 7, The Good Guy Fluctuation. This aired October 27th, 2011. Mark Sandrasky directed it, and then the writers are Bill Prady, Stephen Milaro, and Steve Holland. And I also have to say, too, that the writing was great. The 2 storylines meshed so well together. And yeah, we'll get to it, but they fed into each other very well, and I was very happy with how that worked out, with a little bit of Halloween thrown in. So we start at the school, and Sheldon is in his office, and he's working on equations, and he comes to the conclusion that he's worthless after 9 o'clock. And I don't know what he's doing there after 9 o'clock on a school night or any time, but he's there working on equations. And he starts hearing a ghostly presence call his name. I don't know. Thought it kind of sounded like a dolphin or something, but it was like Sheldon. It was very not super spooky, kind of goofy. But he goes out into the hallway, and I don't know how they get it to work, but the hallway lights burst and kind of spark, and the emergency lights go on. And he claims he knows it's a Halloween prank, and he starts to notice all the other sound effects, the voice calling his name, the sound of chains, and then he notices blood on the wall, and it spells out "See you in hell, Sheldon." And this is where I noticed that they were missing a comma. It should be "See you in hell, comma Sheldon," because without the comma, it's saying "See you in hell, Sheldon." And as if there's a place called Hell Sheldon, I don't know, like Miami, Florida, or something. I don't know, even that gets a comma. But it's like a two-part name: San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Hell Sheldon. But with the comma, it's it's a saying and then referencing a person. And Sheldon speaks out that, yeah, the only thing that's scaring him is the missing comma. And since I noticed this, I am giving myself a point for noticing the missing comma and criticizing the ghost message for it. Oh, you're not so scary if you can't use the proper punctuation. And as he says
we
that,
all know that ghosts use proper grammar.
Everybody
knows
that. Everybody knows that. Once you die, it just comes to you. You know how to use commas.
It's like uploading knowledge into the Matrix. When you die, you just get all knowing of grammar.
It's worthless at that point, but you got it. A skeleton flies at him, and he jumps, and the lights come on, and Raj and Howard come out saying, we got you. But he's saying that it was a mild startle. They didn't get him. He wasn't really scared. And he claims that because he's smarter than them, they'll never actually be able to surprise him. And as he's ranting about this, Leonard pops up with an alien mask standing behind him. And after he gets done ranting, he turns and sees Leonard and screams and falls down. Raj says that he had bet that he was going to pee his pants. And Leonard says, wait. And they look down at Sheldon. And Leonard says, they're all winners. He screamed, passed out, and then wet himself. All of them. And
Well,
that's.
I actually did a little IQ point here.
Oh.
I wanted to do a little bit of research on the science behind the pranks.
Mm.
Because he inserts his science lingo of what's happening to kind of like downplay like the scariness of it all. It's like, oh, it's just this or it's just that. That's not a ghost and everything like that.
I was
So
wondering this because he talked about like the chemical makeup of how the pranks were working a little bit, and I thought about doing it, but then I was like, am I going to get much more than just like, oh yeah, that's happening? So I'm curious what you got. I was thinking about this.
yeah. So the first one, um, the blood on the wall. I'm gonna butcher this. Phenolphthalein indicator exposed to a sodium carbonate solution. So that's the first one. So insert some science. So not evil spirits, just science. So phenolphthalein. Phenolphthalein. I said it right the first time. Phenolphthalein is an organic compound, which is C2OH1404, widely used as an acid-base indicator in titrations, which is a widely used technique to measure the amount of one substance present in another through a chemical reaction. It's commonly used in analytical chemistry to determine the concentration of a substance in a solution. So, what they actually did was actually a very popular science experiment. It's called water into wine, where you have two glasses. One has a little bit of sodium carbonate, and the second glass has water with about 10 drops of.
It's a hard word.
And I have to say it so many times too.
I'd help you too, but I can't. I don't know.
Phenolphthalein solution. You pour the solution into a empty glass, but it has that solution in it, and then you give it a swirl, and the chemical reaction turns it red. And then apparently you're actually able to change it back to clear by just blowing into it because you're changing the pH level of it. And if you want to do this at home, all this can be conducted, or all these items can be purchased on Amazon. But it actually is a cool thing to watch. I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube. So that's the first one. Then the second one is the glow-in-the-dark skeleton, which he said it's a skeleton with phosphorus on a zip line. So I looked into phosphorus. This was actually really interesting. So phosphorus is on the periodic table. It's atomic number 15. And yes, it glows. And it's used in many holiday decorations. The process is called phosphorescence, which is a type of photoluminescence, a light emission from another form of matter after a photon is absorbed. And this is where it gets really cool. It was discovered in the craziest way. So, it was first isolated in 1669 from human urine.
Oh, yeah.
German.
Right.
Yep, yeah, sounds about right.
Right.
German alchemist Hennig Brand was seeking the philosopher's stone, as he wanted to use it to turn base metals into gold. And Brand was convinced he could distill gold from a golden substance that he encountered every day: human urine. One day, he decided to boil down a large amount of human urine into a paste. He then heated the paste until it produced a vapor that condensed into white, waxy droplets. Because the new substance glowed, he named it phosphorus, from the Greek word for light bearer. But don't worry. These days phosphorus is extracted from phosphorus rocks.
That must
So
have
you
smelled
glow it.
so bad.
It's just so funny. Like when I first saw this, like there was no explanation of like I went to so many different sites and everybody acknowledged, oh yeah, phosphorus was discovered from urine. Well, it's like, well, why
Why?
was he experimenting with urine?
Just imagine his wife like, "Why are you peeing into that vat again? I'm doing an experiment, woman. Let me find my
Science.
gold."
But it's so funny, like that logic of like my piss is a bright yellow, so I must be able to turn this into gold.
That's the same color. It's got to be the same thing. I was gonna
But
say
these
at
days,
least
people don't. Oh, sorry.
phosphorus is safer than radium, right? Because I know radium was used for a while, but it's radioactive, so it was killing people. But phosphorus is safe because it absorbs the photon and then emits it. It's not electrons, right?
Yep.
Uh,
And these days, we don't use piss; we use phosphorus rocks. So all of your Halloween decorations are piss free.
safe and hygienic. I love it, and it's a
Yep.
holiday.
Yep. And that's your dosage of science of the day.
Science. I love that logic. Wow.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
boil this. Where did he get the piss? They didn't say that.
Oh man, Jim's boiling piss again. I'm getting gold, guys.
The 1600s.
What a time. All right, so flash forward, we're at the comic book store, and the guys are making fun of Sheldon for passing out and peeing himself. Sheldon says he's from Texas and Texans know how to settle a score. Of course, ask Mexico. Stuart comes over and says that there's a hot girl in the store and that for not for everybody to look at once. You know, they're all like, "Oh, girl in here. What do we do? What do we do?" And Raj asks, "What is she doing in there?" And I like Stuart's answer is, "I don't know. She might be lost, but watch and learn." And he goes up to talk to her and he basically starts mumbling. He says hello and then starts mumbling and she just looks at him and he like walks away and tells the guys to shut up. So he fails, he crashes and burns. But we have a guest star named Alice and she is played by Courtney Ford. And a couple things I've seen her or noticed her from. She plays Nora Dark in some DC stuff. I've seen her in a couple episodes of Supernatural. She's in True Blood. She was in an episode of Diaries. There we go. Daiquiris, Vampire Daiquiris. That sounds horrible. Vampire Diaries. She was in some Dexter, and then we were talking about she was in an episode of How I Met Your Mother, where she is Ted flirts with her in an elevator and they end up going on a date. And she turns out to be a totally horrible person. But Ted has heard about something called the Naked Man, where you can strip down in somebody's room and there's a 2 out of 3 chance that that person will have sex with you. And they play it out where Lily does it, Ted does it, and Barney does it.
Barney.
And Lily and Ted hook up and Barney does not. He gets kicked out. So anyways, Ted
Two out
basically
of three
uses her for
times.
sex. 2 out of 3 times Ted gets laid and realizes he's going to get back into dating, but she is great in the episode and completely different than she is here. Did you notice her for anything else or
Those are all that I noticed her from.
sure.
And I looked into her and I didn't realize that she was married to Brandon Ruth,
I didn't know that
the
either.
guy who played
Wait,
Superman at one point at a small section of time, but he was also in like Legends of Tomorrow and stuff like that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
Huh.
17 years. They actually filed for divorce earlier this year, I guess last year now in January.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, it's too
Huh.
bad.
Interesting. Well, but she walks up to Leonard, and I like this too because I have this deep theory that no matter how much men think that they're picking up women, it is women who do the picking. And that women either will shoot you down immediately or they have given signals and they set up the situation for you to hit on them. Like by the time you're hitting on them, you are already in the preconceived thing, right? They have a strategy and a plan, and maybe not always. I mean, there's online dating, there's meeting, there's hookups, there's blind dates, but for the most part, women get to decide a whole lot over what's going on, and that's she comes up to him and starts flirting with him, and I'm like, I feel like that's realistic a lot, that she kind of makes him seem like he's in power of the situation, but she's working up to it, and I think it's cool that she's into nerdy guys. So anyways, she goes up to Leonard and starts talking to him, and quickly creates this flirtatious scenario over the Next Men comic book, right? And apparently this Next Men was the first appearance of Hellboy, and this is my first IQ point, and I don't know if I really proved or disproved anything, but I found out some really cool information. Did you look into this at all?
I did. I wasn't gonna call it an IQ points just because it was like just a little snippets of information, but yeah, go for it.
Right. I think I have enough here, and if with whatever you add, I think there's enough. I would call it an IQ point. Especially because there's one thing that I really want to bring up, and we'll talk about it. All right, so Next Men, I've never even heard of this comic, but apparently it was created by Horse Comics from 1991 to 95, the original run, and it's about a group of time travelers that are fighting a dystopian future, and yeah, it had the original run from 91 to 95. It's a 9-issue miniseries from 2010 to 2011, and another series called Next Men Aftermath in 2012. And there was apparently supposed to be a second series in the mid 90s, but it didn't work out because the creator, John, and I mispronounced this, Byrne, 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 how to return to DC and Marvel for hire, because basically the comic book world was it's not the most lucrative business. In the 90s there was kind of some upheaval, and especially with DC and Marvel kind of taking over things and controlling things. He had to return to for hire work with them just to make a living. That was my understanding. But yes, Hellboy's first appearance was a Next Men episode, a comic edition 21, there we go, in the third chapter called Faith. It was the Faith storyline, and this ran in December of 1993. According to Key Collector Comics, it runs from about $12 up to $120. I think it said average of $40 depending on the condition and who you're getting it from, so on and so on. The story itself is about some of the characters from Next Men are in some abandoned subway tunnels, and they find kids running from a monster, and Hellboy comes out to help save them and save the day. Hellboy was created by Mike Mignola, and apparently Mike Mignola was an additional artist for Next Men, mostly doing like cover work and stuff, not necessarily doing the storyline. So it's kind of interesting that Hellboy became a character, but it becomes even weirder because Hellboy wasn't intended to be a character. He was never supposed to have his own comic franchise or anything, and we know him now, he's in Hollywood movies. But he originally appeared in 1991, actually, maybe I should go back. 1991, the Great Salt Lake Comic Con. He was on a pamphlet, just like as a random character with a belt buckle that said like Hellboy, I guess. And like he wasn't an actual comic book character. He's just like a random advertisement. So like whenever you see like a random advertisement for like a guy waving at you, he was that. He was a promotional word. And he was followed by a prototype appearance on the cover of Dime Press #4, which was an Italian fanzine. And later on, he would go on to the San Diego Comic Con comics #2, where he made a black and white appearance. I'm not even sure what this was, like a little pamphlet that you got for the San Diego Comic Con back in the day. But what I thought was interesting was that he was like one of his first entries was an Italian fanzine, because I didn't realize Italy had such a strong comic book presence until I watched a movie called Cemetery Man. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It was. I'm confused because it was based on an Italian comic book series that hasn't really been translated. There's been some translations and they're kind of hard to find. And I've heard the translations aren't that great, but the comic book series was called Dylan Dog. And my understanding is Dylan Dog either influenced, evolved into what we know as Constantine now. But Dylan Dog basically hung out at a cemetery and fought demons and stuff and used black magic. And Cemetery Man, if you can find it, I loved it. It is so fucking weird. And it's got somebody big in it too, who let me look this up. I forget his name. Rupert Everett, who he was in My Best Friend's Wedding. That's what I knew him from originally. What did he do in? He did Prince Charming in the Shrek movies. Another Country, The Happy Prince. Yeah, a lot of stuff. The Musketeers, a lot of different stuff. He was in a Black Mirror episode, apparently, Judge Hope. But it's about a guy who lives in a cemetery and takes care of it. And there's a woman that he keeps seeing, and she keeps dying. And then, like, the same actress plays like another woman who comes in. And he's like, "I love you," and then she dies. He's like, "I love you," and she dies. And then at the end, I don't want to ruin the ending, but every now and then, like, somebody dies and they come back as a zombie, and he's in the graveyard so that he can kill the zombies that come back. And it's really weird, but I saw the movie. I'm like, what the hell is this? It turned out it was based on an Italian comic book series called Dylan Dog, and it kind of led me into this spiral that Italian comic books were apparently very popular, like in the early 90s. And so it made sense to me that Hellboy had some connection to the Italian fanzine because of the popularity of kind of demonic comic books, I guess. So Next Men 21 was the first regularly published title with a colored appearance from Hellboy. Although he had made some promotional things, this was like the first regularly published story colored appearance of Hellboy. However, Hellboy himself starred in his first 4-part miniseries in June 1994 with the series collection Hellboy Seed of Destruction. And from there, he's continued and he still has stuff going on today. I have quite a few. I found a Humble Bundle with a bunch of Hellboy comics, and I got it because it was like $18. I'm like, I'm not turning that down. I haven't read any yet, but I was surprised the first one wasn't in it. So I'm like, do I start at the beginning or do I just pick up somewhere in the middle? Do I go back and try to buy the first one and then like catch up to where this is, or just I think you just have fun with it and pick up wherever each one. But that's what I got. And the reason I call it where I got into the IQ point was that I thought it was interesting that he started as promotional work and was guest starring in Italy before he came to the U.S. Fully, I guess, and in color.
Yeah, I guess that's the key takeaway is technically the Next Men 21 wasn't his first appearance. That he actually appeared twice before this, but this was his first fully fleshed appearance. And I was gonna say, when you mentioned Cemetery Man, I looked it up on IMDb, and the trailer is starting. This looks like a porno, Ryan.
It kind of is. It's Italian horror movie. There are boobies in it, and the boobies are in the middle of a cemetery.
and it's in the trailer. It's like, oh, well,
it's Ryan's kind of movie.
All right, I'm gonna have to pause this video for a little bit.
Gotta take a break. Cemetery Man time.
Purchase.
It's so weird too. What word did I learn from that movie? Not crypt. Cemetery Man. Oh man, I forgot the word, but whatever it was, I had never heard before. And he's like, basically, like, it translates into like a mausoleum, and it's an English word. I never heard it. Like crypt, something like crypt. And he's trying to hit on this girl, and he's like, I have this mausoleum, and she's like, really? Let's go look at it. Like, bam, like, whoa. But yeah, it's a fun movie.
Movie recommendation of the week: Cemetery Man.
And then whenever you watch
Don't watch it with your parents.
Don't watch it with your mom. Whenever you hear Shrek, Prince Charming's voice, you'll be like, "Oh, I see now."
Wait, okay. I was thinking of Farquaad. Wait, are we thinking of Shrek?
Right? Yeah.
I'm
So
thinking of
I think
Farquaad because
isn't Prince Charming in Shrimp?
Farquaad was what's his face? Lithgow, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. That's when you said Prince Charming, my mind was thinking him, but I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. But okay, yeah.
That's sound right. Yeah, Prince Charming is like a blonde, tall guy. I don't think he makes as major of an appearance, but he's in like all of them. I think. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I saw Shrek. I remember. So, little personal story from Ryan why I don't like Shrek. When I was like 15, 16, my parents like used to force me into like camps, right? And honestly, this is a great experience, but I don't know if I was mature enough at the time. They sent me down to El Paso for like 2 weeks by myself so that I could do a intensive Spanish camp to learn Spanish. My Spanish is like gone now. At one point, I could like read books in Spanish, and I don't know where that knowledge goes, but it's gone. I can't do that now. Um, but I went down there for 2 weeks, and one of my dad's friends that he knew through business hooked me up and loaned me her car for a while. And I was driving around El Paso and I made a friend because she introduced me to some of her coworkers, and one of her coworkers had a son about my age, and we drove around. And so during the day, I had like 8 hours of nonstop Spanish training, and then at the end of the day, I would hang out with this guy, and we would drive into. Actually, we walked into El Paso, and I don't too like white as sheets teen boys walking in El Paso today. I don't know if that's legal anymore. Like people tell me like that's kind of dangerous. But we'd walk in there and get anime, hentai. They didn't really ask age questions in El Juarez, not El Paso. We'd walk from El Paso into Juarez and get we'd just check out oh, this anime looks good, like La Blue Girl, whatever. There's tentacles on this. And like go home, like, what are we watching tonight? So it was fun, but I remember one day part of the training, I don't know if I got tested on this or what, but one of the days they took me into my school, or the camp I was part of, took me into Juarez, and we went and watched Shrek in Spanish. And I'm like, I'm having trouble understanding the movie and I don't know what's going on. How did I end up here in my life? And so I like every time I see Shrek, I'm reminded of that really odd summer camp that I went to by myself. But yeah, that was good. Anything else about pornos or
I think
Cemetery
we're
Man,
good.
Shrek?
I think we're good to move on.
All right. Shrek. Every time. I think I had a bad reaction too because I think they've started doing it in the United States, but I remember when I went down there, it was like you could get popcorn with the movie, but instead of butter, like they had like hot sauces. I think the hot sauces were too hot for me, and then I started feeling sick from that. I'm like, I want to throw up, and
Oh,
I'm watching Shrek, and I'm. No,
they
it
didn't
was
offer butter.
they might have, but I
Oh,
just remember the hot sauces, and I think I went overboard with the hot sauce, like Tabasco and different
I've
spices.
never put hot sauce on my popcorn. Is that a thing?
In Mexico, it is because it was Juarez. So, oh,
Oh.
yeah. Okay, so she asks if she pretends to hit on him. Alice asks Leonard if she pretends to hit on him, could she distract him long enough to sneak the comic away? He says, yeah, but she'd be using her superpowers for evil. And she laughs. They introduce each other themselves. And she says he's very cute. He says she is too. And she can just take the comic because she's talked to him. Basically, he said, I'm cute. Have whatever you want, right? Um, I know that feeling sometimes. She says no, but asks if he's open for a trade. And she gives him her number. And I like there's a whole thing about she writes and she's like, what's that word? She's like, that's my name, Alice. And he goes, that makes more sense than penis. In fact, this reminds me, I had a story where I have a friend that I went to school with, and I'm not going to name any names, but I was at a writing convention with her, and she was selling her book, and I got it and I got her to autograph it, and I was Venmoing her, and I'm like, what's your name? And I meant more like, what name do you go by on Venmo? And she's like, you don't know my name. We went to school together. You're buying my book.
Are you
And
seriously asking me my name?
exactly. So I understood when she looked at Leonard and was like, that's my name. I'm like, sometimes things get confusing. So, anyways,
Yeah.
I I definitely felt like Leonard here, but I didn't give myself. You know what? I'm gonna give myself a point just because 157. I understood Leonard's position talking to Alice about her taking stuff and not knowing name. But I did like him saying, "Oh, that makes more sense than penis." So she leaves, and Stuart comes over and takes a picture of Leonard because he's going on the Wall of Heroes. He's the first person to pick up a girl in the comic book store, right? And he kind of poses like,
He does like smile and is like, yeah, oh, okay.
okay, okay, I'll go with it. At the apartment, Sheldon says that Leonard needs to check his mail, and he's very hyper focused on this. And Leonard's like, "Why do I need to check mail? Why do?" And Penny comes over, and she has a bag of Halloween candy. And apparently, it's a rough year because Halloween is following on her PMS cycle, right? So she's eating more candy than she actually should. It's rough. Sheldon tells Leonard that he has to go check the mail, and he covers up his ears. And I love that Penny looks at Sheldon like, the fuck? And Sheldon's covering his ears like, ah. And Leonard opens the mailbox and pulls out a couple of advertisements, nothing big, and goes over. He's like, what? And we got some advertisements. Sheldon's very confused and runs up to check the mailbox. And when he does, a little airbag pops up, and uh, Leonard says that Sheldon might be from Texas, but Leonard is from New Jersey. Ba-dum-bum, right? In the apartment, Alice is over and looking at comics with Leonard. And Leonard showing her this picture, what do you say, Jim Lee drew it of him. And she asks what he was wearing. And I just assumed it was some sort of weird depiction, but apparently he was actually wearing this. He was Lion-O from Thundercats. So he had kind of like a leotard on and had a.
Which I recognized right away.
I did too. I'm like, that's Lion Cat or Thundercats. I don't know if I would have come up with the name Lion-O, but I would have known Thundercats.
Oh, I knew Lion-O. Oh, no stranger of Thundercats.
Alice says he must have gotten laid. And he goes, no, but Jessica Alba did rub his furry belly. So that, there's pros, I guess. Alice brings out a comic book that she drew. And on the first page, she is apparently having sex with a guy with the top half in the Chewbacca costume. I'm like, that's awesome. He asks if this was Comic-Con, and she says, you'd think, but no. He's just doing it. And she kisses him. She asks if she can trade her comic for the Hellboy for the X-Men. And he's like, you can have my car, whatever you want. I also have to say, for some reason, this gave me a flashback to like the first strip club I ever went to. It was another odd story. I don't know what the fuck it was. It was supposed to be like it was a strip club. I keep telling myself as of like to solidify, yeah, it was a strip club. It wasn't some odd place, but it was kind of an odd place. And I
was it Comic-Con?
It was Comic-Con. That's what it was.
Were you just watching Cemetery Man?
Cemetery Man? Chewbacca's were taking their pants off? I was like, what the fuck? I knew about it because some of my friends, acquaintances, friends, through the art program of the school I went to, had painted one of their walls. They had hired them, I guess. I don't know what the structure was, to paint one of the walls. And it was supposed to be kind of like a bar / strip club, kind of like a cool, hip place to hang out that had stripping sometimes. And during my divorce, my friends took me there. And there was only one woman like working the whole thing. And for part of it, she was stripping. For part of it, she was bartending. And did I tell you about this? I feel like I might have, but
this doesn't sound familiar.
When we got there, maybe we got there early. I feel like it wasn't that early, but we were like the only ones there when we got there, and she wasn't stripping; she was just tending bar. And so we got into a conversation with her, and I have no idea how much she was just making it up, but she was so good at it. And we were talking about being interested in comic books and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I'm really into comics. I draw my own," and was like talking about being into comics and drawing her own. And I'm like, she's so cool. And later on, my friend's like, dude, she was making that all up just to get tips. I'm like, but she did so good at it. Good, go
Yeah.
her, right?
It's coming back to me.
Coming
Yes, you
back
did.
to you.
Yeah.
Uh, but the weird thing was, we were leaving, and I just gave her like $10. I'm like, thank you for the conversation. Like, we weren't here for like a full show, and don't really know what's going on. But you were a great bartender. And the security like came in and like started like huffing his chest at us. And I look at my friend, and I'm like, I think he's gonna beat us up, and I don't know what's going on. And she came up and she's like, not them, not them, the guys in the back. And I look at my friend, I'm like, were there guys in the back? Like, what? I didn't even know there was a back. And the guy like kind of like glares at us, like, get out, and like we're leaving. And she like led him to the back where apparently something was going on. I don't know the fuck was going on, but the whole thing was, she was great, she was wonderful. Weird place. Don't know what was going on in the back. Cemetery Man was being aired, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways, her talking about this comic book that she had drawn like reminded me. I had flashbacks, memories opened up. I'm like, oh, so maybe the bartender did draw comics and then stripped in her spare time. I don't know.
Very talented person.
Very
Bartending,
talented.
stripping, drawing. Yeah. A whole package. Look at that.
Whole package there. She seemed fun. So we are back at the school, and Sheldon goes into his office, and he has a little animal box with him, and he seems kind of bothered, but he puts a snake from the box into Raj's drawer, thinking he's going to like punk Raj. And I don't think I realized that when we ended, Raj had like this king's desk in the office, and Sheldon's like literally sitting below him. Like Raj's stuff is way above. I remember them fighting about it, but I think I forgot like how it ended and that they were still sharing an office with this like
Yeah, they're
magnificent.
still working together. They still share the office, and the desk is still there. So
it's still there, and it's a
great
mammoth.
continuity. Yeah.
And Raj comes in, and Sheldon puts Purell on. Raj comes in, and Sheldon does this whole ruse about, I'm out of staples, Raj. Could you check your drawer for some staples? And Raj's like, okay. And he opens up his drawer. He's like, oh my goodness, there's a cute little snake in here. How are you doing? Let's take you to the biolab for some mice to snack on. And Sheldon realizes his flaw was scaring an Indian with a snake. So I guess that's why Raj wasn't scared. But I did love that Raj's reaction. Like, you're a cute little snake. Let's get you some mice to eat.
Yeah.
So Penny's apartment. Penny is making mac and cheese, and Leonard comes in, and he can't have any. I love. She's like, "Would you like some mac and cheese?" Like, no, the lactose and gas. She's like, "Yeah." And then she offers him some wine, and he turns that down because of sulfites and migraines. And I did my second IQ point here. Did you look into this at all?
No.
Have we talked about sulfites at all?
Maybe. Probably.
Maybe. I don't remember it, so I'm doing a full IQ point here. I think it's fair. I don't know how I feel about this, because I feel like when I have wine with more sulfites, I get worse headaches. But there is not much conclusive evidence to say sulfites cause headaches. And that's kind of what the IQ point was on. Basically, I come to headaches, migraines with sulfites may happen, but definitely not for everybody. And first of all, I like to say that sulfites are used as they're naturally occurring on like everything. So even if sulfites aren't added to wine, there will be some in wine, because sulfites aren't everything. But typically, they are a chemical containing sulfur and oxygen, and they are used as a preservative usually. And so they're naturally occurring. I know them mostly as the brand name Camden tablets, and I use them to get rid of chlorine in water before I brew. And I usually do, for every 5 gallons, I do it like half a tablet. I've also heard that you can use these to like purify water, that if you use enough of them in water, it kills all the stuff in it, and then you can drink it, so that Like if you can't boil water and you're out in nature, you could use some sort of tablet like this to purify it. You can also use like iodine tablets to purify water. It just depends on what you're doing. So I use them for that. Some people use them to purify their water and their juices for making wine. And this is important because with beer, you don't need that. You boil the water, you steep the grain, and then after you steep the grain, you boil what's called the wort, the beer water. You steep it. Basically, you make tea with grain, and then you boil the tea. Um, and that has a couple things. One, it purifies it so that nothing's living is inside, but also it not neutralizes it gets rid of DMX, something like DMX, I don't, dextro something, something that gives it a bad taste and it airs it out. But this is also partially why beer was safer for a long time than drinking water, because people didn't realize when you boil stuff, it made it safe to drink. And so they'd boil beer, make it alcoholic. The alcohol would serve as a preservative, and you could drink it and hydrate to some extent, as long as you weren't getting plastered and it wasn't like an 8% beer. Like if it was like a 3%, 4% beer, there's like some preservative. Uh, it was safer to drink. And I can tell you, I've seen videos of people going into like duck infested ponds. I say duck infested because like they showed a video on this documentary I watch of ducks going to the bathroom and pooping in this pond, and they go out and take water and make beer out of it. And I've gone to streams and just taken water from streams and made beer out of that. And because you boil it, it kills everything in it. You boil it for at least 60 minutes and everything in it will be dead. It is purified. I mean, you're still drinking the amoebas, but they're all dead. They're not going to hurt you. But for wine, you can't boil grape juice. I don't know what it would do to the grape juice. I had never looked that up, but it would ruin making wine. So to preserve it, you have to have clean water, and you have to have, usually people use something like Campden tablets to purify it, to make sure that other bacteria aren't in it to ruin it. And partially to make wine or ferment anything, you have to add yeast or whatever strain you want to turn the juice, grape juice, into a tasty wine. If bad bacteria get in there, it probably won't hurt you if it works right, but it's going to taste bad. It's not going to taste good. And so a lot of brewers, what do we call them? Not brewers, winemakers will use Campden tablets to kill everything in it to make sure that their wine yeast will make good wine. And where I do like half a tablet for 5 gallons, I've heard that for wine, you're supposed to use like 1 tablet per gallon. So you're amplifying those tablets, like multiplying them by a lot, which technically could make more sulfites in the wine for that reason. Even though there are naturally occurring sulfites to get that decontamination, you're boosting it. I like pointing out that there are some recommendations if you don't want to use sulfites to help preserve or to kill off other bacteria. Uh, you could try using stronger yeast strains. You could use nutrient boosts, and you could use yeast starters. In fact, with making beer, I can say there's this huge debate over. A lot of people feel like you can buy 1 packet of yeast and add that to 5 gallons, and it should work. I am on the probably minority here, but I have found that every time that I make a yeast starter where I like basically make a small batch of beer where the yeast is already going and like it's really thick with yeast cells, I guess, I add that to my 5 gallons, I make better beer. So basically, if you get the yeast going and it's a strong, healthy strain, you're going to get better results. And that might make sure you don't have to use more chemicals to make it work. So here's where I get to medicalnewstoday.com, where they gave some information about sulfites. Sulfites occur naturally in wine, but some are added, again, for the preservative reasons. There are several reasons for headaches. Sulfites might just be part of the issue, but the other reasons might just straight up be hangovers, that people are hungover and they blame the sulfites when they actually drink too much. There are suggestions that pteramine and tannins might cause or might cause headaches as well. I didn't go into that as much, but as well as dehydration, that people aren't drinking enough water, and that could cause the headache when they're blaming it on sulfites. Another big thing is histamines. That histamines occur naturally in wine, and that between histamines and alcohol intolerance, people might be getting headaches due to those and just blaming them on sulfites. However, people will say, well, then, why do wine bottles say contain sulfites? And apparently, according to Medical News Today, the FDA did a study in the 80s and found that 1% of people who drink wine, or one, maybe not wine, but 1% of people part of the study had a sensitivity to sulfites. And that was big enough, 1% of people was big enough to warrant having a warning on the wine bottle saying contains sulfites. And so technically, we get all these people saying the sulfites give me a migraine, the sulfites give me a headache. Although it's possible, FDA studies suggest that only 1% of people are actually reasonably getting headaches from it. Another study by B. Wootrich, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation. I found it published on the National Library of Medicine, said that 10% of people have a sensitivity to alcohol, especially when red wine, wherein the alcohol causes some sort of allergic reaction or causes the headaches, or the histamines might be causing it as well. Uh, Another study suggested that organic wines, when wines try to have fewer sulfites, they often have fewer histamines, which means that people are actually, the alcohol and the histamines are causing them to have an allergic reaction. And they're just blaming it on the sulfites because technically the wine does have fewer sulfites, but they're not thinking about the other things that it has fewer of. And this could be accompanied by things such as running nose, sneezing, sinus congestion, coughs, trouble breathing, asthma attacks, redness of skin, itchiness, and hives. And again, people get these sometimes and say, oh, it's the sulfites, when it's technically other aspects of the alcohol. Some research suggests sulfites don't cause wine headaches at all. Some suggest that there are several reasons for wine headaches, what I just went over. Some wines are trying to not use sulfites despite the lack of evidence or substantial to substantiate the issue. They're trying really hard to get rid of using sulfites and not having that label on their wine bottle necessarily, because so many people think this. I'm comparing it to gluten, that so many people think that they have gluten intolerance. A lot do, but most likely the number of people who say they're gluten intolerant are having other issues, or just don't want to eat gluten because they think it's a health fad as opposed to an actual literal intolerance. But with that said, I do know several people who have literally have been tested and have celiac disease, but there are a number of people who are just on a bandwagon with that. So to end this IQ point, despite the headache, uh, the website suggested if you do get a headache from wine for whatever reason, you might consider a pain reliever, but it's always wise to drink water, plenty of water, because no matter the issue, dehydration, tannins, sulfites, it's going to work with your blood vessels and make sure you're hydrated and help decrease the chance of the headache or lower the pain of the headache. So, all those together, I would say Leonard may have sulfite insensitivities, but it could be a lot of other reasons too. I think it's unfair to blame the sulfites. But with that said, placebo effect, I would say that in the wines I drink that don't use Camden tablets or sulfites to purify it, I get fewer headaches. I don't know what that means. So placebo effect, whatever it is. Yeah. Anything to say about wine before I move on?
No, but I didn't realize that they had to mark if there were sulfites in it. I should be more mindful of what's on the label of my wine
That
bottles.
that's what this article said, and I know I've seen it before, but I don't know. I think there's a certain limit, like parts per million of sulfites, that you have to have it labeled, which means that even though it's naturally occurring in like in everything we eat and drink, it's gonna have some sulfites. You don't have to label everything until it hits like a certain number. So that is wine, or some information about sulfites. If you have any thoughts on wine and sulfites, send us an email and let us know what you think. Do sulfites give you headaches, or is it placebo, or whatever? So Penny ends up she would offer him some Halloween candy, but as we know, her PMS and Halloween are falling on the same week, so she's out of Halloween candy again. That's a lot of candy. I feel like I'd be sick. She had like a whole grocery bag full of candy. Leonard brings up his situation about his love life. He is worried it might be weird because him and Penny are friends, but they used to date. But he wants to make sure she's okay talking about it, and she's really cool about it. She's like, whatever, which I respect. I respect when relationships end and you're friends like that, and you can still talk about stuff. So Leonard starts. I love he starts asking whether or not it's cheating if a guy, and Penny just straight up says, yeah, probably. And I feel like she's right. If you have to ask, you know the answer, right?
I agree with that, and I thought the exact same thing. It's like, Leonard, if you start a question like that, the answer is yes.
Yeah. I love she's not judging him either. She's like, yeah, probably. I'm gonna be honest with you. You do what you got to do and do what you want, but you
I
can't
was a little
call.
shocked how cool she was about all this.
She was really cool. In fact, that like kind of made me wonder, like, I would have liked to see a little reaction from her. Maybe not towards Leonard, and I guess we didn't have Amy or Bernadette with her to show any side reaction, but I would have liked, it seems like she's pining over him a little bit, and we've seen that in a couple episodes, but I would have liked to see her like, like something, I don't know, lament the situation a little bit, but we
A
didn't.
little bit of disapproving, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
something.
But everyone's felt oddly fine
Yeah.
with this situation.
But at the same
Like,
time,
even I was gonna say even Sheldon, like he kind of didn't really care, but then again, he doesn't like Priya, so who cares?
doesn't like Priya, and he was hyper focused on his own situation this episode, right? And I would say that Penny really has no room to judge. It's just the fact that, uh, we're rooting for them to get together. That I'd like something, but I do feel like, yeah, she doesn't have room to judge. So she was absolutely cool, but at the same time, maybe a little bit of, ugh, okay, so where was I? He brings up Alice, and they made out a little bit, but they didn't do it. I like Penny also was like, "Did you do it?" And he's like, "No, we didn't do it, but we kissed a little bit." And he hasn't told Priya, and he's not one of those guys, but he really wants to be one of those guys who sneaks around and sleeps with multiple women. And I don't understand this. I am so busy in my life, and I have so much going on. I don't understand guys who can like have multiple women, and I'm even like one side one. I feel like that's, how do you have enough time in your life, like between work, animals, kids, a partner, like sleep? Like, do you just not sleep? But he wants to be one of those guys who sleeps with other women's because he likes Alice. Uh, but again, I think we mentioned this, that I feel like he likes how Alice looks, but he doesn't really seem interested in her. So he is kind of the dipshit here, right? He's the bad guy, even though he wants to be
He
the good
is
guy.
definitely. I think he explains it a little bit more. He fleshes out his where his mind's at with it in the scene with Sheldon. That when, sorry to get ahead, but it's when with guys, when you look back at things that you missed out on. So that
Hmm.
he's looking at this as just as like an opportunity because it doesn't come around very often.
It does not come around,
Because
if at all. Right?
at all,
I've never
I
had
mean,
this happen.
how often does a beautiful girl approach you at a comic book store and is genuinely interested in you? How often does that actually happen? Probably
Right?
never.
I remember talking to Kelsey. I'm like, I had such a hard time finding dates. And I'm like, I went out and did stuff. I went to rock climbing gyms. I went on meetups for hikes. I took brewing classes. I went to bookstores. I went and just like hung out at libraries, hoping I'd meet somebody. And she's like, "Well, you didn't do the right stuff." I'm like, "Fuck! I thought libraries were the cool thing to do. Apparently, they're not. Is comic book store type stuff, right?" And she's like, "What I didn't realize was we went to Kelsey Ballerini concert, and there were so many beautiful women there, and there were guys going around just getting like phone numbers." I'm like, Well, shit, that's where I should have been. It's like you were, yeah, just go to a concert. I'm like, I didn't know. Like, uh
I was kind of the same way. I tell Christina this all the time. I was actually single for a really long time before I met Christina and got married and everything. And I was doing like so many things. I signed up for every Groupon just to
yeah.
kind of do like a little activity, going to different gym classes and stuff like that, doing all these different things, and nothing really worked out.
I remember going to Green Lake, like driving all the way to Green Lake to walk my dog just to see what would happen. And like I saw two guys get into a fight, I think. It was like just a verbal altercation, but like it definitely wasn't a meet cute, that's for sure. So yeah, this doesn't come around that often. But again, that's like I said, that I feel like the majority of the time when people start dating, guys think that they had the situation, but it's already been set up way above their heads. That if there was a girl at a comic book store, she knew what she was doing there, and it led into it. And Leonard might think that he found her. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like guys are dense sometimes. Myself, I guess. Okay, so where were we? Basically at the end of this conversation, he's looking to sleep with both women and have everyone be happy with it, which is not going to happen. At the apartment, Sheldon is developing a device to put on his wrist. I thought it was like a Spider-Man web slinger thing, but apparently it's a shocker, and he tries it out and he shakes his own hand and passes out because it electrocutes him. And he gets back up and says that's perfect, so it's working out. He's trying to get back at people. Leonard starts to leave, but turns around and Sheldon asks if he's concerned because the world is filled with big dogs and bullies. And I love Sheldon's innocence there, like big dogs and bullies. No, Leonard's having a moral crisis. Leonard explains the situation for Sheldon's help. And it's funny because Sheldon's actually offering to help in this like completely un-Sheldon like situation. Sheldon says he knows a lot of philosophers, including Dr. Seuss, which might not be very helpful, but one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish might be strangely applicable. So he's going to help out.
Which is
Leonard
not.
is,
I actually did a little bit of research on this.
ooh, go for it.
So I don't know if I'll call this an IQ point, but maybe we will at the end of this. But I don't know why he dropped this book as a surprisingly applicable Dr. Seuss book. Because I actually read this book to my child all the time. So I'm very familiar with this book. And there's not it's a big stretch to say that this is applicable to his situation about infidelity. I'm going to ask you, you probably haven't read this in a while, but have you read this book? Do
I
you even
have read
remember it?
it, but it's at least 20 years. I'm going to
Yes.
say generously 20 years.
I will say my kid loves the Dr. Seuss books. He has no idea what they mean. He's only 3, but I read it to him. He likes the old school pictures and everything like that. I actually read it to him as his bedtime story tonight, and I actually have it in front of me.
There we
So,
go. Were there
in
some
a
green fish on
nutshell,
there? What color fish? One fish,
well,
two.
yeah, it's the
Oh,
two fish.
so one fish is a white fish, two fish are green fish, then there's a red fish and a blue fish. And that blue
Yeah,
fish
on
looks
the
like he
cover.
knows something.
Oh, he knows many things. But but basically, in a nutshell, this book is actually about embracing diversity. It has nothing to do with fidelity. And if you really want to say it's surprisingly applicable, I will say like there is a couple quotes on there that might kind of express seizing opportunity,
Yeah.
possibly, but not really. So I'll actually take a moment to read that line because it actually is a really nice line that I actually just really like it. But
Don't cheat on your girlfriend unless she's okay with it. That doesn't rhyme, Dr. Seuss.
that's what it says.
That's what it says.
But basically, like I was saying, this really more applies to being embracing diversity because it's constantly talking about weird and strange things, and then it'll start, the book starts off by saying this and it ends saying this. From there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. So it's really more about looking around and seeing all the differences and just embracing it and enjoying it, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to call out Sheldon that this is not the best book for infidelity.
You know,
But, oh, sorry.
I'll go for it.
Oh, no, I was going to go on to tell you an example that I think is actually better, but
I
I'll
was
let you go
just
first.
thinking that, I laughed, I chuckled just because of the title. I wasn't even thinking content of the book, just one fish, two fish, that he has one girlfriend, but he wants two girlfriends. And that's not super, like you said, it's a stretch, and I giggled. But that's not the point of the book, and it is a stretch for the joke. I
It's
agree
not the
with that.
point of the book at all.
It's not the
Like,
point of the book.
what what I think he really should have, that actually might be a better one, is it came with the sets. I've actually never read this one up until I had a kid, but I actually really like this one too. It's I can read with my eyes shut. I think that would have been a better message because it's about keeping your eyes open for opportunity, it feels like. And here's a
Mm.
quote from that book too. But again, it's more about reading. It's more about like reading and having an imagination and stuff like that. But this seems more appropriate because the quote is, "There are so many things you can learn, but you'll miss the best things if you keep your eyes shut. If you read with your eyes shut, you're likely to find that the place where you're going is far, far behind." So I look at that as more of like a better example of keeping your eyes open for opportunity and kind of just trying to seize it.
Well, there's that other book that's like the graduation book by Dr. Seuss, right? The Things You'll See.
Is that what it's called?
I-
I don't think
The Places You'll Go,
I.
Things You'll See, the Women You'll Sleep With. What's it called, Dr.
Oh,
Seuss?
Dr. Seuss. What kind of doctor are you?
Oh my goodness, Doctor. Oh, Doctor. Oh, the Places You'll Go, classic Dr. Seuss. And it's basically like, oh, the places you'll go, you'll see wonderful things. What are some of the rhymes in it? Of course, you can't. All alone, whether you like it or not, alone is something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. But I think that's the right one. It's yeah, about a kid who's going like on adventure and seeing the world, and like. But again, that one, like, although it's like a child's rhyme, like I do believe that is intended for like graduating and maturing and growing up. And I don't know, it's just like the graduation book. During graduation time, you'll find it like in the card section at Walmart. It's a great book. It's stereotypical for that. I love that book though. But anyways, I would see that more of the places you'll go, because where are you going? But I would say at the end of the day, if I were to vote which camp Dr. Seuss is in, Dr. Seuss would say, "Go have fun, Leonard." That's
Yeah, I agree with that.
uh, hmm.
well, well, I did a little AI search on this one just because I haven't read every Dr. Seuss book. He has like a million of them.
What's
So I
wrong
just
with you,
asked,
Rob? Start reading.
I know, I'm streets behind. Um, I asked AI what Dr. Seuss book relates to fidelity the best, and it actually had an answer. It's Horton Hatches the Egg. The central theme of the book revolves around Horton,
Yeah.
the elephant, um, their unwavering commitment to his promise to sit on an egg while its irresponsible mother, Maisie, vacations. The most famous quote that encapsulates this theme is, he says, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%." So, based off that quote, that is what AI says is the book that relates to fidelity the most.
Is Horton a cuckold? Is that how you pronounce it?
It is how you pronounce it, and no,
No.
because it's not his kid. He's just helping out. He's helping out an irresponsible mother. So the
He's
mother flies away. So he sits on the egg to.
he's not hoping to hit on the mother. He's just helping her out like as a friend, or
I didn't
is
read the book.
I
AI did
didn't
not
read
tell
the
me.
book.
All right, AI, is Horton a cuckold?
Tell me, ChatGPT. um, New perspectives, but
Yeah.
I do like Horton is the hero of that story, and morality would define that his commitment to his promise is saying Dr. Seuss would be inclined to say, Leonard, keep your promise. Ooh,
Yes,
interesting.
but literally every other book says go do whatever,
Good.
go have some
Don't
fun.
don't be a cuckold, Horton.
Yeah.
Wow. We went somewhere today.
Yep.
So I did a partial IQ point, and it's definitely not a that yours was more of an IQ point, but Sheldon also brings up
Nietzsche.
Friedrich Nietzsche, and I was I would have bet his name was Nietzsche, and I feel like I've been mispronouncing it all this time,
Yeah, because
and
Sheldon pronounces it Nietzsche, and then I
Nietzsche.
looked it up, and it's pronounced Nietzsche.
It's Nietzsche, and I was like, but there's that fucking song that was this is like Mandela effect. I'm like, there's a song he says Nietzsche in it, and I look it up, and no, he says Nietzsche in the song, but there's a song by um, Mick Harvey called Chatterton, and it's in French, and basically it's a list of people who've committed suicide, and like that's all the lyrics. In fact, I'll give some of them. Chatterton. In fact, it might have been by somebody even before. Load. I have the version by Mick Harvey. Okay, that's not loading. Chatterton suicide, Hannibal suicide, uh, Judas suicide, Nietzsche certified, and he says, "How about me? I don't feel good inside." And he says Hemingway suicide, Cleopatra suicide, Socrates suicide, Goya certified, Shoutertone suicide, Mark Antony suicide, Van Gogh suicide, Chomaine suicide. I feel like there was one where he says Cobain suicide. I think there's might be different versions. But anyways, I swear that he said Nietzsche suicide or Nietzsche certified, and I looked it up, and no, he says Nietzsche. So everybody was right, but Ryan. I don't know where I was living, but anyways, if you're looking for it, it's Friedrich Nietzsche. So not a IQ point at all, but I want to admit that I was wrong because I was really curious about that. And it's also a great song. I don't speak French, but it's fun. It's got a catchy little tune, and it's a little melodramatic. So Nietzsche apparently said morality was used by inferior human beings to hold back the superior men, but he died of syphilis. And I think that's an interesting quote, interesting theory, but at the same time, I believe that humans are built on morality, and that if we didn't hold each other responsible for our actions, society would fall into anarchy. And most likely, the people Sheldon's considering weaker, inferior men would probably rise to the top, doing things like Adolf Hitler, who is probably an inferior man, doing horrible things on the world. So usually morality is holding people back. So, anyways, I don't agree with Nietzsche, but I did get into like this like long thing. Did you think anything of that quote? Like, it got me thinking.
It did, and I didn't necessarily research that exact quote, but I looked into Nietzsche himself. So I do have like a lot of information of like his philosophy and his influence.
You would take over. You have more than just me saying I was wrong about his name.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Hitler because his philosophy actually paved the way for Nazism.
There you go.
Yeah. Um, everyone has pretty much, I would imagine most people, if you don't know who Nietzsche is, you'll know him because you will now, and you'll recognize him because he actually has a very famous quote that a lot of people actually still use today. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. He came up with that in 1888. Nietzsche himself was very anti-religious, and like you said, he criticized morality. By thinking seriously about the role of cultural and personal perspective, he opened the door to modern psychology, cognitive science, and anthropology, disciplines that try to understand why people think the way that they do. He was really into the concept of strength and power, that the most powerful should be the leaders, and that strength and power are the highest form of moral goodness. Metaphorically, of course. But knowing this about Nietzsche, it makes sense that he would say that morality is just a fiction used by the herd of inferior beings to hold back superior men. That it's basically just made up. And like I said, his ideas paved the way for Nazism. It was the rise of the Übermensch, or the superior being. The Nazis took his theology of strength and power literally, but by no means was Nietzsche a racist or a Nazi. He actually died several years before the Nazis rose. But he did believe that some races were the superior race, but it wasn't the whites or the Germans, which is kind of funny. He actually he actually singled out Arab, Indian, and Jewish civilizations and thought the Germans would benefit from intermingling with these other races. So he was this funny, rare breed of racist that there are superior beings out there, but it's just not me. um, and yes, the general consensus is that he did die of syphilis at the age of 55, of neurosyphilis, which is a complication of syphilis, the STD. Neurosyphilis is when the Treponema pallidum bacterium, the bacteria that causes syphilis, invades your brain and or your spine, and this affects your central nervous system, which can lead to paralysis, dementia, and death. And people think that this is why a lot of his theories and philosophy get really off the rails towards the end of his life. That's syphilis.
The syphilis got him.
But yeah, that's Friedrich Nietzsche.
I like that morality thought because I just feel like humanity is stronger when we care about each other and do things together. And I see this interspecies when wolves work together. They're one of the strongest creatures on earth. They can take down bears, and bears are not great at working at each other. I've uh, seen documentaries about dad bears just randomly killing their spouses and kids because they thought it was fun. Not to say all bears are mean or cruel. This is like one particular instance. I'm sure some dogs do that, but dogs work together, and I feel like when humans and dogs get along, that's a big part of how humanity survived for eons. That they had dogs to help keep watch, and dogs had humans to think for them. So it was the best of both species commingling to be superior because they were caring about each other. So I don't think morality is a weakness. I mean, we get into the whole political thing about, is empathy made up or a weakness or whatever, and I'm like, I think empathy is what makes us strong. So I would like to talk about this with Nietzsche because he wasn't, as far as we know, he was born before Nazism, but as far as we know, he wasn't a Nazi, and he may have had some logical thinking behind him.
That's what we got.
I also want to say that every time I hear that quote of whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger, I think of an episode of Simpsons where something happens to Homer. I can't remember what it was. And he's in there with the doctor, and he's like, but whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger, right, Doc? And the doc goes, no, quite the contrary. You're as weak as a kitten now, and starts like whacking him. And Homer's like, stop it. So there you go, Nietzsche. No, it's not true. What? Okay, so he died of syphilis, and Leonard, it clicks. He says, "Screw it." He's going, and Sheldon yells at him to pick up some OJ on his way home. I like where Sheldon's priorities lie there. Howard's house. Sheldon comes over to Howard's house, and Howard answers, like, "What are you doing here, Sheldon?" And someone screams, "Who is that?" And Sheldon says, "It's just me, Sheldon, Mrs. Wallowitz." And it turns out that's not Howard's mom. It's Bernadette sounding like Howard's mom, which
I love it so much.
Sheldon says unsettling. I think everybody is thinking like, "Oh my god," right? I love it though. Do you think if Bernadette was with Raj, she would sound like that, or do you think it's because she's with Howard, or do you think that's her personality and she would sound like that with Raj?
I think I think it's part of her personality.
I
You
think
will
so
see it
too.
get you will see it get unleashed a little bit more in the future, but like how much of a strong person she is for such a tiny being.
Mm-hmm.
A little
Well,
scary.
what was that one? He's an architect, not an astronaut.
Yeah.
So for a little being, she is very strong. Love it. So Sheldon says that's unsettling, and he's come over because he's never congratulated Howard for getting hitched or for getting engaged, and he wants to shake Howard's hand. And Howard's like, "That's weird." And Bernadette comes down and is watching, and Howard's like, "You could have just shaken my hand yesterday." And Sheldon's like, "This is great. I just want to shake your hand, basically." And Howard's like, "Okay," and shakes his hand and gets shocked, and he clutches his chest and falls over on the ground. And Sheldon mentions that he thought the heart condition, Howard's heart condition, was just a symptom of hypochondria. And Bernadette runs back inside and grabs a huge needle and rushes out. And is like, "This is adrenaline. We have to give it to him to save his life. And you've got to do it because I'm not strong enough to get through his breastplate." Sheldon grabs the needle and is freaking out and shoves it in Howard's chest. And Howard sits up and says, "Trick or treat, got ya." And apparently it was all a ruse. Howard set this up with Bernadette to get. I don't know how they knew Sheldon was doing this. Leonard must have tipped them off. And Sheldon kind of
Probably
smacks
Raj, I would imagine.
Raj. He must have known
Because
about
of
it
the
somehow.
snake. Yeah.
Yeah, that if he's coming. But they had the needle set up too, so somehow they knew he was making this device, and because it was a
Something,
fake needle.
yeah.
Yeah. But I can believe it. Somebody tipped them off. Sheldon whacks his head and zaps himself and falls over. So he's not getting it right. We're at Alice's apartment, and Leonard and Alice are making out. I think they're getting to above kissing. They're there. And Leonard stops them, and she asks, is he weirded out by her tongue stud? Because if so, he's in for a surprise later. And that made me laugh. I'm like, oh my. He's here for a surprise later. He says, no, he can't do this. He has a girlfriend. And she gets mad. She says that she thought she finally met a good guy, but he's just a jackass. He says he is still a good guy, and he tries to put on this facade like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm a good guy. I'm Captain Good Guy. But we all know he wouldn't have let it get to the stage if he was a good guy. There's no, he needs to admit that he wanted it all and he can't have it. And maybe if he had actually wanted a relationship, I would say after the first kiss, if he had come over and said, I'm interested in you, I have a girlfriend, I'm breaking up with her, or it's not working out, I feel like he could have maintained the good guy status. I feel like that one first kiss would have been understandable. Things sometimes build up, and she leaned into him and kind of took him by surprise. I guess I don't know how long or far it went after that, but
Well, they continued to make out afterwards, so it seems like it went kind of far. So
yeah,
he
probably
would
went
have really had to
further.
push her off. So no, even
Yeah,
after that, no, good guy status is gone.
I think that one kiss, her leaning in and him going and then saying, "Wait, I need to tell you something. I have a girlfriend who's living in India, and I don't know where things are." I think that's understandable. But continuing that kiss and going over there to start making out without telling her, that's messed up. I don't know where he thought he was going with that. but nobody's perfect, so whatever. And the next scene is him getting kicked out in the hallway, and he's trying to reassure himself, I'm the good guy. And then he's like, I'm an idiot. So he realizes he's not the good guy. We're at his apartment, and he is chatting with Priya, and he tells her he needs to say something. And he confesses to kissing Alice, and he apologizes. And she's pretty relaxed with it, saying things happen. And he's like, wow, you're amazing. I don't deserve you. But then it clicks. Wait,
Because she says,
everybody?
like, it happens to
It
everyone.
happens to everyone. And he's like, Everyone? What happened? And she confesses to cheating on him too, but she went more than kissing. She slept with her ex-boyfriend. So they both messed up a little bit. He's like, no, I messed up a little. You messed up a lot. It's not a competition. He says, oh, it is. And you won. And then he gets offline, and Leonard sees his chance and sits up from the couch saying, ah! He's dressed up as a zombie. And I love it because I wasn't expecting the two storylines to coincide, but we are at such like a heartbreaking scene for Leonard, and I was so worked up in that story. I wasn't seeing it either, and it just hits full impact. Great for Sheldon. He gets him. I can also say the code word for today, code word zombie. Sheldon is dressed up as a zombie. Zombie is the code word for today.
All right, everyone, shoot us an email
Well,
with the code word zombie.
zombie. And Leonard runs away. And the final words of the episode are Bazinga punk, now we're even. I love Sheldon's reaction. He finally got it right. He did great.
Yeah.
And that's the credits. We're on the vanity card. It's a pretty long one. Chuck Lorre Productions, 363. Was there an original thought to be thunk? Or was he forever doomed to be an emulator or worse, a regurgitator? And if he was, so what? Doesn't every college sophomore majoring in English because they have no freaking clue what to do with their life know that disdaining the derivative is the height of unoriginality? More importantly, what was the likelihood that he could keep writing without landing on even one declarative sentence? And why did he use the idiot word thunk? Is he actually an idiot? Or is he widely clever? Will we find out one day? Who knows? Who cares? Should he continue trying to write a vanity card when he has a raging flu and is so heavily intoxicated from a potpourri of over-the-counter cold medications that he keeps referring to himself in the third person? Probably not. That is potpourri, right? Pot.
Potpourri.
Yeah.
Po. You don't. The T is usually silent. Potpourri.
Potpourri. How do I say potpourri? Oh my! It's like
Hot
Nietzsche all over
po.
again. Potpourri. Potpourri. But I always think of potpourri as the decoration on your desk that smells of like
Yeah,
dry
the
flower petals.
flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think of it as a mixture or concoction or a variety of like a zoo or yeah. But okay, yeah. So apparently he had the flu. He was all drugged up, and he was trying to think if he could be clever or not. And yeah, sure, why not? You get this one, Chuck Lorre. Have a good day.
Okay, we'll give it to you.
We'll give it to you. You're drugged up. That's all for the episode.
4 IQ points.
Nice. And we got 1 point on each side. I had a little surprise because thinking over it, I do think I deserve a point being awkward like Leonard. And so we are at 139, not like Sheldon, 137 like Sheldon. One
Still
point on
very
it.
neck and neck.
It's pretty close. And I think partially this episode wasn't very Sheldon heavy. He was just trying to get back and running through some slapstick comedy. But I do also think it was funny that I noticed the comment and then he noticed the comment. I'm like, God damn it. Okay.
Yeah.
So 139 to 137.
Cool. All right. Anything else to add?
That's all I got. we got the keyword in. Where if you're listening, you can backtrack a few minutes or an hour and listen. And yeah,
Yeah, and if you didn't get last episode's keyword, make sure you go back and listen. Don't forget to also give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Shoot us those code words, enter in that raffle, or just say hi. Whatever. You don't have
hi
to enter
guys,
the
what's
raffle.
up?
Just say hi. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Yeah, we'll see you when we discuss Season 5, Episode 8, The Isolation Permutation. See you then. This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD required. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. Thanks for listening.